Meeting of the Sherman County Board of Commissioners come to order, please. First thing on the agenda is our public comment. So anybody want to use that, we can. If not, we're going to sign checks.
motion to pay the bills, in the amount of $92,671.29.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded, and we pay the bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. I have a couple of tax roll corrections. Frontier Ag, all of these are Frontier Ag. And it is for Incanarado. Selected result of a reduction in appraisal values.
I'll make a motion to approve the tax roll changes.
Motion, I'll second that motion and move that we approve tax values 2056 through 2061. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Getting rough in here now.
No, you're just saying.
We have a rental agreement with Case IH for three Magnum 145 CVT tractors. We can use them for 205 hours.
Is that the price per hour?
I'm looking at least rate $10 an hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it just floors me that
I don't know.
the minimum of $6,000 be paid up front.
I will make a motion to accept that.
I'll second your motion. Those all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Would you like to rent one for that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I can do that.
Okay, now we have mapping bid. This is Kindle mapping processing. This is a one-time fee of $4,200. And that covers tax district, schools, fire, and et cetera, for $4,200.
And that's for how long? I mean,
That's a one-time.
just to
One-time
get,
thing.
that's just to get set up.
It's just a one-time deal, so it's layers on our mapping through the appraiser's office that we don't have.
Okay.
So we don't have it broken up by tax district. So if somebody asks for a commissioner district map, we have our old school. It's not very clean looking, so this will allow us to do all kinds of different maps.
It's one time.
One time.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the mapping.
I'll second that motion that we approve the lease or the agreement with Kindle Mapping Incorporated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Look at that. Or... Patty, if you and your group wants to come up,
No, they're gonna do the talking,
they're going to do the talking.
yes.
Okay, come on. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
I'm Dave Anderson, I'm the Director of Clinical Services for High Plains Mental Health Center.
Okay.
This is James Gershner. We're here to make our annual report and the formal funding request for next year. Also, want to acknowledge our board member who I believe is relatively new to our board, right?
I've been on there a year.
That's pretty new to you.
We have celebrated some 30-year board members, and so, not that I'm holding you to 30 years, but
Just 29 is all you need to
that's
do.
right. Again, we're here to make a report and to thank you for your ongoing support. I have a packet. Did you all get that?
Yeah, well, that's what, before the meeting, Eric was getting me all lined up to this.
I have some extras. Okay, would you like one?
I'm going to play with my
Okay.
toy if I can.
Sure.
I got to get used to it.
So we'll start with the color copy. That is, the annual report looks like this, and that's for all 20 counties that we serve. And as you can see in the bottom left corner, the number of people that we serve continues to go up. We're north of 7,000 unique people a year, which is up 25% over the last 10 years. In the map above of the 20 counties, in Sherman County, the gold star represents a full-time office, so we maintain a full-time office here in Goodland, and then the green circle means that we have a formal relationship with the school, that we're providing services inside the school. And the benefit of that is so that parents don't have to take off from work and pull their child out of school and take them to the office. All the services can be provided right there in the school building, often to children who are referred by school personnel who recognize that the child is struggling with some issues. The next page is the Sherman County specific data.
Excuse me.
So 313 people served in 2022, down a little bit. And so usually when that happens, we will do some local advertising to make sure that people are still aware we're providing services. Certainly with Tracy leaving the community, that's probably had some impact, although we're extremely fortunate that she's been able to continue to work for us remotely, all the way from Wyoming. Continue to see people via televideo services.
Now, I'm noticing on this, there's been the last 4 years, it's been just a slight decline,
Yeah.
from 362 down to 313.
Yeah,
And, of course, some of that, the start of COVID
right.
would have made some of that.
Sure. And that's why, and part of what James does, and he'll explain kind of his role, but he spends time in the community visiting with our community partners to make sure that they're aware of the services that are available, run down any issues people are having, getting people seen here. But that's why we like that trend, is it helps us keep an eye on what's happening within the county. In the bottom right-hand corner of that, you'll see that it's the annual family income. And so, as is true for most of our clients, about half of them have family incomes under $25,000 a year. And so it's important. It's a big part of what county mill levy does, is help support people's ability to get services, regardless of whether or not they have insurance. We have a sliding scale that's based on their annual family income. And we really want to make sure that no one feels like they can't get the services they need because they don't think they have the resources. Over the last few years, we've really made a major effort to push into schools, because we've, one, heard from schools that they are seeing some significant issues that they need help with. And two, it's clear that the easier it is to access services, the more likely people are to do that. During the pandemic, we went from providing 15% of our services by telehealth, and that was mostly office to office. So people would come to the Goodland office and then get connected to the psychiatrist in Hayes. During the peak of the pandemic, we did 95% of our services by telehealth. So we had to make a pretty significant move, and luckily, we had really good IT staff that was able to help us do that. After we made such a significant switch, we did some intensive follow-up with people getting services to see if that was helpful to them. And a third of the people preferred it. They preferred getting services by telehealth. A third were neutral. They would go either come in or get them that way. And a third didn't like it at all. So the good news was we knew that some people were getting access to services that might not have in the past. We had some really good feedback, some farmers who told us they were able just to pull over in the field, get on their smartphone, connect, do their service, and go right back to work. Where if we told them,
You have to come to town.
you got to park it, and drive back to the house, and then come to town. And boy, that's way more time. And, that's why we're likely not able to serve some people, because they did not find that it fit their personal schedule very well. We had a mom actually connect via Zoom to the board and talked about how she was able to get services at home with her child. She didn't have to take off from work. She didn't have to pull them out of school, and how much more convenient that made it for her. So that's the one positive thing, is that telehealth has allowed us to reach some people we might not have otherwise. High Plains also got a couple SAMHSA grants to help us prepare to become what's called a CCBHC, a Certified Community Behavioral Health Center. It's a federal designation, And it allows us to access some different types of funding for Medicaid populations. And we were one of the first 6 centers in the state to get a provisional CCBHC certification. A lot of work on behalf of the staff went into that. We're just like everybody else, we're struggling with workforce. We have 14 openings for therapists, 10 of whom we fill currently with a group called Innovatel, and they're a national telehealth provider. So we have therapists literally from all over the country, from Florida out to Reno, Nevada, who are supplementing and providing telehealth services. We continue to recruit because we'd like to have more people, boots on the ground, particularly out here. And we are also working to kind of grow our own. We're taking bachelor's level staff, helping them go back to graduate school, further their education, get licensed, and be able to provide services. We've utilized some Hansen funding to do that. And we're hoping to be able to continue that because we've got, I think, 5 in the pipeline, which is great.
But that's a 2 or 3 year pipeline.
Exactly. Not to mention that 30% of the people licensed by the Behavioral Science Regulatory Board, which is the group that licenses therapists in Kansas, are over the age of 60. So we got a bit of a bubble of people moving towards retirement as well. So that's just a really ongoing challenge for us. Not to mention we would like to keep people in the community. We'd like to have those salaries here being spent locally to support the economy. I'm going to have James talk a little bit about what he does as a member of the prevention, education, and outreach staff.
Sure. And there are, after the federal grants that Dave was talking about, there are now 3.5 of us full-time in this department, up from 1. And so when it was just our boss, Kaylee, she was responsible for all 20 counties, and trying to spend time in 20 different counties is a big ask. So now with 3 of us on the road full-time, we're each responsible for a smaller subset, 7 or 6. And so I am the county liaison for Sherman County. I'm out here fairly regularly. Anytime I'm needed, I can make the trip out here. And I'll be spending the rest of the day in town. I have meetings with hospital staff, law enforcement, public health, and just making sure that these conversations go both ways and that there is not a hole in the process that we're not aware of, or make sure that new options that we've onboarded, that everyone is making sure that they know about those kind of things. And then we do also offer community presentations and trainings. That's just a kind of a value added service that Pipelines does not charge for our staff time to teach. I'm working with Chief Hayes at the police department right now. We're in the final stages of setting up a mental health first aid training here for law enforcement officers. Next week, the 18th, I believe, is the date we're looking at. And so myself and another trainer will come out. We'll spend the night. It's an 8-hour long training. That's good for continuing education units. And it's kind of like CPR or first aid,
Right.
where if you're not a therapist beforehand, you're not going to be one when we're done, but provides a great non-clinical level of most common signs and symptoms of the most common mental health disorders, and then an action plan for how to get through those tough conversations. And we do that training all over our catchment area to any groups that are interested in it. And so we kind of have a wide range of responsibilities, and anytime we're needed, we're happy to show up and be a voice in the community about mental health.
Sounds good.
In addition, we provide services. We provide jail-based services. So we put telehealth units in each of our jails in our catchment area and in hospitals, so that we can try and reduce the burden on local law enforcement, that if they have somebody in the jail who needs to either be assessed or needs ongoing therapy or medication services, all of that can be done within the jail. So they don't have to shackle them up and drive them and have a deputy sit while they're getting that service.
So actually, that's been a big bonus to get some of that utilized to, not only it's not also a convenience, but a very good safety.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes, because we know that sometimes people who are having mental health issues, particularly if they're having psychoses and they've lost kind of contact with reality and they've come to the attention of the jail and they end up being arrested. I don't know, they've still got that issue, but they're inside the jail, and that often increases the stress and, like you said, can increase the danger to them and to others. So we want to be able to provide those services. Unfortunately, some statistics demonstrate that jails have become some of the largest places for mental health people because of the shutdown in hospitals. They were deinstitutionalized, and not to mention we have I-70 that runs right through our catchment area.
Yes.
Sometimes people get part of the way through and have a car breakdown or something happens.
Something triggers it.
Yeah. We also do what's called critical incident stress debriefings for first responders. Oftentimes in smaller communities, you have first responders who are volunteers. I live in Waukene, so I have a number of friends who are on rural fire department, and sometimes they get into situations where things don't have a good outcome, and that creates a lot of trauma and stress, and we want to be able to be helpful in those situations. And we have a specifically trained team who can come out and help them just process what happened, to understand the psychological impact of those events, and to talk about ways that they can respond to it that would be helpful, and also ways that might not be helpful that they should try to avoid. Because we really want and rely on those folks to continue to be able to do that. And so both the jail-based and the critical incident stress debriefing are services we provide free to our county partners. Any questions we can answer?
Yeah, you mentioned that company that helps you out.
Right, Novotel.
Do you find that these companies are reasonable in price compared to staff, or are they sticking it to you?
They're way more expensive, absolutely. And
That's what we've been hearing.
yeah, and it's, I mean, I'm sure our local hospital, when they have to pay traveling nurses.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a
Nursing
lot.
homes, yeah, all those have, we've it's really bit into some of the budgets.
Oh, for sure.
Extremely hard to.
It seems like, with the beginning of the COVID thing, and even today, that's what drove those prices up. They took advantage of it.
Well, and the one we worked with, the Novotel, recently was purchased, by a larger company, which generally means the prices are going to go up. And I know I read in our local Waukene paper that the nursing home in Gove was closing.
Yep.
And a lot of that had to do with staffing and budgeting. And it gets pretty scary when you start to think about vulnerable populations like that.
Legislators need to understand there needs to be some oversight in what these companies can do as far as pricing.
Yeah, we're kind of at their mercy, although we've just started talking to a group that's from within Kansas. And one of the things that will help us with is if we interview a therapist who lives in another state, then they have to apply for license in Kansas. And sometimes that can take a couple of months. So even if we contract with one of those folks, it may be 60 or 90 days before we actually see them, versus this group that's already in Kansas. But then what happens is everybody's just cannibalizing each other, right? They're just taking each other's staff. We really have to work on growing and getting more people interested. And so one of the things PEO is going to start to work on is presentations that they can go into high schools and start talking to kids early about whether they might like to have a career in this field. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you again for your support and providing us a board member. It's a it's a wonderful thing for us because we ask of them to kind of keep their ear to the ground in the community. So if they hear of anything, they can let us know, and James can come and respond as quickly as possible.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
You bet. Have a safe trip back.
I'm spending the night in your
All right, very good.
Get it to Wallace tomorrow.
Okay. Miss Chrissy
And friends.
and troops
And friends.
and friends.
Chrissy, do you need this?
I have one, but yeah, yours will work too, whichever. My chair does not roll.
You're coming to talk to us about National Telecommunications Week, which is this week.
Now,
Okay.
I had intended to speak to you a while back, but we had some illness in our department, so here we are, a week up.
So everybody's healthy now.
No.
No. No.
I'm actually leaving here and going
Yeah.
back to dispatch as soon as we're done, so.
Good.
Anyhow, so each year nationwide, they recognize the 911 telecommunicators. It's a fancy way of saying 911 dispatchers. So each year we go to the City and County Commission, as you may know, and just ask that you declare this week an appreciation week for all of us. So,
Okay.
doing a few things within the department to recognize them and show our own appreciation towards each other, and we'll get together tomorrow evening and a few goodies for them. So
Well, I will make a motion to declare the proclamation National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed.
I need your signature.
For me to sign.
And I'll just give you a quick update. As you may remember, several months back, I had run for a position with APCO, which is actually an international, pass one over here, an international organization that is basically 911, but in other countries, of course, it's not 911, it's other things. However, so the topic today is the national conference. They do ask us, as being part of the board in Kansas, to make every effort to attend the national conference if at all possible. So what I've given you is just kind of a list of the tracks that are available to me during those few days. It is in Nashville. The APCO board does pay my registration fee since it's my first year on the board. They don't do that each year, just to be clear. But this year they cover the cost of that, which is about $500. And so I just have to get myself there and back. And so the plan is a couple of us from Kansas are going to leave from Wichita and go together and return. I did apply for the pipeline grant again this year, and I specified that I would like to cover part of my travel expenses to go to this.
Right.
So it should be a minimal expense. However, 911 funds can cover training and travel.
Okay.
So it won't even come out of my regular budget. Very much looking forward to this conference, but I did just want to let you know that this is being requested and I would like to attend and get your blessing on that and
Sure.
bring back a lot of training to our department. They also do provide professional videography of the courses, and I can purchase a copy of that for $100. So everything they provide, including the classes I don't make it to because there's several classrooms.
Very good.
So I plan on purchasing that as well, and we can use that for years down the road.
Sure.
So just to let you know, so I'll be out of town for about a week
Sounds good.
altogether. So that's all I have. You guys have any questions for us?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
How are you on doing as the group on employees?
We still have one open position. We've had several kind of nibble at the bait, so to speak, but for different reasons, they taken the job. So, still looking. Very excited that Schooler is opening back up at Caruso, so we're hoping maybe that will not only provide jobs here, but maybe some out-of-town folks and their significant others will be looking for positions. So
Yeah, exactly.
I do, every opportunity say we do have a job open no matter where I'm at.
Always selling it.
Yeah, got to.
All right.
So,
Yeah, I hear
all
you.
righty.
All right,
Well, thank you for your
appreciate it.
time.
Thank you.
Does she need this or?
Sorry.
Give that to her. She's been proclaimed now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miss Jennifer,
Gentlemen, how are you this morning?
doing all right.
Peachy.
Huh?
Peachy.
Peachy, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's springtime. I'm just not quite ready for those. I'm here to talk to you guys about our Speedway stuff this year. This is our current schedule. I don't know what kind of changes or anything like that we may or may not need to do. I know we had a work day planned this past Saturday. So we maintenanced our equipment and that kind of stuff. It seemed like there's never enough time to get everything done. The crow's nest, we had discovered that some of the hinges that hold to the main frame for that front that opens up was weak. I had talked to William Saturday morning. He said that Rod Blake had inspected it, or not you, sorry. Rod
Good job,
Butts had
Rod.
inspected it, and everything looked all right. When we got out there and looked, there was one of the hinges that was coming apart from the main frame, so my husband welded it up. So he
Good.
took care of that, so we don't have to worry about us or anybody that uses that getting hurt. We just felt, preventative maintenance is better than no maintenance.
Sure thing.
And I've already talked to Miss Ashley about these dates.
Okay. We have a contract here. We have a note here on this. We need to talk to you.
My only suggestion on that would be, right now, the requirement for insurance liability coverage is $500,000. I would suggest at a minimum that be $1 million, given the nature of the event and the
Okay.
times as they are. That would be my only suggestion, but that's entirely up to the two of you.
Okay. And I can get you a current copy of what we have for insurance coverage. I know it rebinds the end of this month, so.
Okay,
I did get the initial paperwork submitted already to them. I'm just waiting on the final paperwork. And per IMCA, I think we're bound by certain limitations that we have to cover too. So, because we are sanctioned with IMCA, so. I'm just not familiar with it right off the top of my head.
okay.
When does the old contract expire?
As soon as the last race was, I think, for last
October
year. you mean?
1st would be the,
Okay.
Last
So-
year or this year.
So we just need to have something in place.
Yeah.
Before the
Yeah.
first event.
Right.
Do you want to review the insurance?
And their insurance coverage may exceed what the agreement calls for. I'm just saying that.
you're just making the note that,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, why don't we let you bring that
Okay.
and Brett can have a look at it and make sure that's all good.
Okay. So do I need to bring it to him?
bring it to, yes. Bring
Okay.
it to Brent.
If you don't mind.
Yep, that's not a problem.
And then we want to retroactive if Brent approves the,
Unless there's anything we need to change in the contract, or William, you got any concerns or?
The only thing is, I recommend them to come back out after the races and pick up like all the tear-offs that the drivers tears off their helmets when they're out on the track, and disc that track up to help keep it from blowing so bad. because there's times when the wind blows, you can't even see hardly going down Caldwell Street or anything.
Okay, is that in the contract, or
I don't,
we'd have to sit and read that thing clear through, which I'd like to do.
I have not seen anything in it.
In objection to that, we were out there Saturday. Our track is sealed it's packed in. It's sealed. What is blowing is everything around the track. The top, the bottom. We were out in the center having our meeting. We were eating dirt that was coming off the top.
What, is there grass? There's just nothing
It's
there?
buffalo grass, weeds, stickers.
Dry dirt.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly.
some of it's gonna be difficult.
And we don't expect William to water it. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate.
No.
Well, normally all the other guys, whenever they had extra water left in the tanker or something, when they dumped it, they would take it and move it around in different areas to help keep that grass watered
And we do water the pits.
and everything. But
We've also went through probably the driest year we've had in
Yeah.
quite a while that, you know, because,
Even buffalo grass is gonna dry
yeah,
out.
my buffalo grass doesn't look good.
well,
The county the trail roads are, Friday,
Right,
we could see them, I could see them blowing
right,
and, you know, once they're slicked off,
right.
it just,
But normally, all the other guys that I have worked with out there on the track area and everything, that's been several years. After each race, they disc that thing up that way. It would help keep it from blowing, and then plus, it would keep somebody from going out and on that track.
Okay, so
From
from
racing
one race,
around on it.
from one race to another, when does that track get worked?
So if we are racing Saturday, Sunday, like our schedule proposes, then we start working the track the Sunday prior to that Saturday race.
Okay.
Otherwise, we leave it sealed up because as a farmer, I'm not sure about what you farm, but when you disc it, it's a 50-50 gamble. The moisture will wick out from the wind and the sun, or you keep it sealed up and hold in what you got.
Hmm.
And that's where we're at with it. And that's part of the reason we leave it sealed up over the winter, to hold in what we got. Because if we disc it, then it's going to dry it out. It's going to wick it out with the wind. It may or may not hold from blowing.
and unfortunately, well, you do not want to chisel that track.
No,
No.
no. We have talked about turning it to bring some of the nutrients from years of on top, working them down and bringing the new stuff up. My husband's in the process of looking at getting some stuff to help keep the dirt down during the races, because there's times you go out there and the poor spectators, they're eating dirt. Us in the pits, we're eating dirt, and you go home and you're just as brown as your table. I mean, it's bad.
I remember many, many years ago, they tried laundry detergent in the water trucks.
Right.
And I don't know how well it worked or anything.
I've tried it at my house to help
Open
with
it
our
around.
ground sprinklers and stuff. Just put it with powder.
Yeah.
You get suds and then it's gone. I mean, there's not much nutrient in there.
There's always going to be some snake oil salesmen that got the
Yes.
ideal product for you.
Right. We've got some things in mind, and my husband's got a custom boom system that we have built to work with it's Scott Wood Industries. And so what they do is they have a chemical that you put on, like Frontier Ag, prime example. When the wind's blowing, it's dry. What happens? You can't see 24. That you spray on that stuff in a boom system. It goes in a big semi-tanker and it goes out in the boom, so it's very diluted with water, but it's got enough residual that it holds the dirt. And so we're looking at implementing some of that stuff. It's not harmful to you and I or anybody else. It's basically a water wetter, and it puts nutrients back into the dirt to hold it. And we're looking at doing that ourselves personally. We're not asking the Speedway to pay for it because, as we've known for years, the Speedway is limited funds. Sometimes you get great community support. Sometimes it's pretty hit and miss. The economy's not been the greatest with everything going on, so that's where some of the rest of us have just got to step up.
Well, if you could have everything by the 17th.
Okay, and I did already send an email to the insurance company,
Okay.
so I could get limits
So
for
if
him
we
and you
get
guys,
that, then
so.
we could have this approved by the 17th.
Okay.
And
I'd like a copy of that as well.
you would?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, are you guys opposed with me prepaying what we normally do? That's what we've done in the past. I can prepay today,
Yeah,
then the check can go in when we're signed or whatever.
that's fine.
I have no doubts that we will meet your
Yeah.
needs, so.
Okay. We'll get a copy of this to Rod and then probably put you back on the schedule for next Monday and
Okay,
get everything
Yep.
cleaned up.
I'll make sure my schedule's free to be here.
Okay,
All right,
Good enough
appreciate it.
All right,
thank you.
thank you guys.
You bet.
You graced us with our presence, Judge.
Can I ask for 10 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel, including Judge Showalter and myself?
Keep
I
in
didn't think-
mind, there's 2 lawyers, so if it's 10 minutes, it'll probably be 20.
And costs 3 times as much.
Matter of fact, where's the checkbook at?
It's already signed and we didn't get it approved, so.
Wait a minute.
I'll make a motion for executive session for 10 minutes and reconvene here.
Been moved, I second the motion, it's been moved and second, we'll go into executive session for 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Huh?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. That's what, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're in executive session.
Is there anything on the agenda?
Commissioners come back to order from executive session. Okay. I did not get email from my minutes.
I do have an update from last week. I talked to Jay Spoor about concrete right out to Smoky.
Okay,
It's $34 a ton if we pick it up. And I passed that along to Rod Roeder. And Jay is donating the first load that we take out. So
well, very good.
thanks to Jay Spoor for
Yes.
that.
Speaking of updates, Mr. Rod Butts called me and said the wind panel is ready to be installed. I talked to Rod Roeder this morning, and I will get with him to see where it all needs to be set in.
Okay.
And then I know Mr. Roeder's looking for some cable, and I have some half-inch cable that's been. My wife says she'll be glad to donate it to me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
That'd be heavy enough.
yeah,
For
it,
sure.
Okay.
Good.
I said that way, when they come pick it up, it leaves the place and does not need to come back.
That's the conditions. I never want to see it again.
Yeah. So
All right. I had no issues with the minutes.
that's second.
That's your second page. Yeah, I read it.
How much of that concrete do you think to do with? How big a chunks is that concrete?
6 to 8 inch nominal.
Okay.
I don't know, Rod thought he'd maybe try to get 2 or 3 loads for now.
How many tons is that? How many tons is the load?
As big as that stuff is, you might get 20 a load. If it was gravel or something, you'd probably get 24-ish, but this is a little lighter.
I talked to Mrs. Gilmer again. She said she isn't quite sure where she wants it. I said just whenever it works to her convenience to let us know and we can help her get it set down there.
Oh, Roger Studer's wife was talking about a tree,
Okay.
and I let Rod know about that. It'd be like a seedless or a cottonwood or
Okay.
poplar.
Okay. Do you have any other questions on that?
Nope.
Okay.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of March 31st as written.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is passed. Okay. Man. I'll give you that one. I don't know that. Let me see your letter of my kind, sir.
This is a bill from Milco for services rendered on the old closed landfill monitoring wells.
Okay.
$4,415.
Is that, well, we can just present that with the bills for next.
Yeah.
This is from Kansas Floodplain Team Division of Water Resources. Does not have a flood map. Updated maps.
Well,
Gotta get rain
if
before.
that's what I think that is. If you do that, I don't know, this might be something Brett might want to look at if he already has it. If you do a flood map of the county, landowners are going to be paying flood insurance. Okay, like we're down where I live on the Beaver,
Right.
that's all going to have to be flood insurance. So I don't think too much of that.
Okay. You don't, well, it won't bother me. I live on top of the hill, so, right.
Right.
I'll give this to you. And
I think that would be not advisable. But what do I know?
I say we have to have rain before we have a flood.
Well,
That's what they say in California too.
but once you're in that zone, in that mapped zone, that you're
Yeah.
committed.
You're committed to it. Okay. Is there anything else that needs to be?
I don't think so. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second your motion. All in favor, we adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign.